Well, Todd, thank you for joining us today on Small Biz Live. I am Mickey Marafina with Mickey M Marketing, and on behalf of the North Redondo Beach Business Association, the NRBBA, we've got another great show of Small Biz Live, and today we are welcoming Todd Burke from Tin Cans and String, and he has a computer repair assistance business, and he has been one of our best volunteers with the NRBBA for many, many years, and tries to keep a whole bunch of volunteers straight on our technology, which is a huge challenge. So I know one of Todd's greatest traits is his patience, because I've had to work with him a lot, and he's so super patient with us. Welcome, Todd. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So, Todd, give us a little background on how you started your business, how you came up with the name Tin Cans and String. I think that's super cute. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I've been doing IT since 1985. And so if you do the count, 85, 95, 2005, 2015, 35 years-ish plus. Anyway, I have worked, prior to starting Tin Cans and String, I had worked in three major industries: higher education, telecommunications, and advertising, as far as doing IT support in all three of those different industries. And in 2013, I decided that, with what was going on in my life at the time, I needed to really to start my own business. And so I started Tin Cans and String in 2013. So that's like about 7 years ago. On April Fool's Day, 2013 was actually the, interesting, the 13th year in April Fool's. So who knows about that?
But 7 years, right?
Yeah, exactly.
7 years later, you're still in business. So that's a great story.
So you asked me about where did Tin Cans and String come from, and basically what the deal is that when I got my first iPhone working at one of the ad agencies, Apple's default signature on emails was sent from my iPhone, and I thought that'd just be super pretentious. I'm like, oh, I hate that. So I went in and I changed it, and I think I changed it to sent with Crayola crayons and a CB radio. And it was always kind of like an old school writing and an old school telecommunications thing. And I did, Crayola crayons and a CB radio. I did an Etch-a-Sketch and a walkie-talkie. And, I'd change up the signature every once in a while, but it was always like an old school, writing sort of drawing sort of technology and communications technology. And one time I said, oh, set with a tin can and a really long string. And I'd worked with this German guy named Thomas Arndt, who's like a super great entrepreneur. He's done like 1 million companies. And he in an accent that sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, Todd, when you, God, I almost like fall into that accent. But he'd say, Todd, if you ever start a company, you need to call it that Tin Cans and String thing. That's catchy. And he was like a marketing guy, advertising guy, knew a lot about that. And, he'd constantly say, you start your company, it needs to be that Tin Cans and String thing. And I said, okay, yeah. And I know at the time there was all that fancy stuff. So it was Tin Cans and String. And I know you have TIN space, can space, and string, but I actually squish it all together and it's all lowercase except for the N. And that was kind of the style at the time. And a lot of what the art directors were doing in advertising at the time was to do it that way. And I said Tin Cans and String. Nobody else had that name that I could find. Did the DBA, was able to search, get the domain tincansandstring.com, and
It's awesome.
Away we go.
Yeah, and it's so memorable, and it's perfect too, especially for us old timers who actually know what that means and who actually did that when I was a little kid. I tried it,
Yeah.
to see if it would really work. So that's a pretty cool name. So tell me a little bit about what you do and how, I'm always curious about how your Steve Goldstein's giving you a thumbs up. What great name for a business. How do you create an exceptional experience for your clients, and how do you build community around your business? I'm always curious about that.
Well, as far as an exceptional, experience for my clients, I really try focusing on a hands-on, personal, almost a concierge approach. Not almost, actually a concierge approach. I know a lot of my competitors are all about installing remote control software on people's computers and sort of like the Ron Popeil guy, set it and forget it. They do a lot of set and forget, and they just jump on the computer in the middle of the night and don't really provide any hands-on, personal, face-to-face experience, once after that initial, thing. And, I've had a couple of clients that have hired me as a enhancement to that remote control support. And eventually they go, well, why do we have that remote control support if you're such a great guy? And, you'll come and actually visit us and chat with us. And, I can be a very chatty person as people who know me, and I can talk. So, I just really like hands-on, face-to-face. And a lot of my, 65 plus clients, 65 years old plus clients, I should say, really like that, because a lot of them are freaked out about remote control. A lot of them are freaked out about, not really having a good personal relationship with the person that's working on their computer.
Right.
And, so that's a lot of it. I tell her and I joke with her. I says, this a woman named Joan who lives in South Redondo is a Redondo class in 1952. So you can do the math. She's like, I think my mom was class of 52 for her high school. So it's like, my mom's age, like, we're not going to say how old she is, but you can do the math. But she's just super great. She's sharp as a tack, and she uses her computer all the time to do all kinds of stuff. And she maintains a database of all the Redondo class of 52, 53, 51 graduates, and has had class reunions in her house. In her backyard for people. And she goes, we have class reunions every year, because if we don't, people would die in between them, and it's like, that's true at that point. But she's really my favorite client, because I have learned, a lot about, she was a technical writer for TRW a million years ago. And, so she was using, Macintosh computers when they first came out in 1984. And, showed me a lot of her technical writing stuff, and I'm like super impressed that we were able to pull that off. But she has problems with her computers, and so I go to her house and I get them all fixed up. She's got 2 Macintosh computers, and do that. So I go to her house. I go to a lot of other people's houses. I love small businesses. I love, small businesses that have 5 to 10 people. That's always my sweet spot. It's like, if I have to say what I really like are small businesses, 5 to 10 people that really need somebody like me, and I can provide really great professional IT support for them.
That's good to know. So tell me, your specialty is your personal relationship that you develop with your client. So how has COVID-19 impacted your business?
Oh, I hate it. I've had to move a lot more toward the remote control sort of thing, where I do a lot more stuff remote. And it's not really what I like to do. It's not really what I'm all happy about. But the fact is that, I've moved into that thing, but I always, I'm willing, I jump in the car and I go over and I say hello to people, and, not just remotely controlling their computer, but we get on Zoom and we do, a lot of stuff that make it as personal an experience as possible. I know a lot of IT people tend to be sort of cold and hands off, and, think the biggest pain in their butt is the end user. And it's like, I think, the end user is like really why I have a job. And,
right.
I used to work at a university, and we had a joke that if it wasn't for all the professors and students, we'd have great jobs. And then my boss would always say, yeah, but you wouldn't have jobs. And so the fact is that, I really embrace my users. I know that there's other people that, in the IT world that are like, they think the end users are not too smart, and are just the bane of their existence. Well, if you didn't have those end users, you wouldn't, they wouldn't have a computer, and the computer wouldn't need to get fixed. And that's what I'm all about.
I think the perfect combination for an IT professional is someone who feels the importance of customer service. And that is obviously a big factor in your business. So I would imagine too with COVID-19, I mean, I know a lot of people had to become remote workers and had to work from home and didn't have the proper setup and things like that. So I would imagine that probably brought you some business too.
It did. Some of my clients, I always try to forward think as far as implementing technology in clients' offices. And, I keep pushing them to go with business class routers instead of consumer class routers. And they're like, well, they're a lot more expensive. And I says, well, you know what? You're going to need that more expensive. And when COVID-19 hit, we needed a bunch of people to be able to remote into offices. That business class router was able to provide VPN solution to all of the remote workers. And, so it was like, oh yeah, we've already got the hardware implemented. Everything's in place. We just need to pay a little bit of money for additional VPN licenses. And they were like, wow, this is really cool. We didn't think about that when we invested in this hardware.
Well, and I think a lot of people didn't think about their kids were going to be on a Zoom the same time they were on a Zoom with their office. So yeah, it definitely has been a huge shift that a lot of people didn't plan for. So it was great that you were kind of setting your clients up in advance to have a more sophisticated system.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about Zoom because people talk about Zoom and the bandwidth. It's like Zoom doesn't need a lot of bandwidth. It just needs something called latency to be low, and latency is how fast stuff moves, not how broad stuff moves. They talk about broadband connections. That's how wide of a pipe you have, but it's more important also to have a fast pipe, and that's a lot of the troubleshooting that I wind up having to do with customers, especially with residential services that Spectrum or Frontier or AT&T never anticipated in the engineering of their network to need low latency, because when we're streaming a bunch of stuff and we're looking at web pages, latency isn't important. It is very important when you're a gamer and also a Zoomer, and also an Instagram liver. It's like the latency will just kill you. So
yeah.
Fortunately, it's like when your lips are moving and your words are coming out of my, phone, it's synced up pretty good, which means we don't have a lot of latency right now. So
Right. Perfect. Well, that was one thing when we were setting up the interview together, I figured, well, I'm not going to have to worry about having good connectivity with you. I figured you would, and obviously that's true. So that's great. So tell me a little bit about the services that you offer. You've kind of talked about, you help the home user. I know you're bilingual. Tell us about that.
Okay, so if I do my 30-second elevator pitch, tincansNstring is IT consulting for small, medium-sized businesses, home-based businesses, and families. And I always say that that's a tongue twister because I'll pay people $1 if they can say that 3 times really, really fast. Anyway, so that's the whole idea. I love, like I said earlier, small businesses 5 to 10, but I've got some clients that have as many as 20 employees, and I'm totally cool with that. I love that as well. And I've got some businesses that got 3 employees. I go across a lot of different segments of our economy. I've got law firms, I got accounting firms, I got retail. I've got project, transportation companies. I have a couple of trucking companies, that move all our goods all over the place and rely on their computers to get the truck drivers from the docks to the warehouse and from the warehouse to the store, with the technology that they have. And so, as far as that, what we do for those people, all those people I mentioned, small, medium-sized businesses, home-based businesses, and families, is we do everything, from soup, the old school expression, soup to nuts. We do the internet connection, getting into your place, house or business. As you mentioned, bilingual. It's like, we're bilingual. We speak PC and Mac. Do pretty much everything. My other thing my little thing that I'll say in like networking groups or something is if it plugs in the wall or has a battery and consumes electricity, gets an IP address, we take care of it. So that goes with, your network, both all the routers and the switches and the wireless access points, or however we do wired and wireless. We do all the workstations, whether they're PCs or Macs, or even, bilingual sounds so cool, but it's actually, we're trilingual. We also do Chromebooks quite a bit too.
Okay.
it's like I'll take some old laptops, to get somebody going with something. I've got old laptops. I'll convert them into Chromebooks, and people will be like, "Oh, this is great." It works. A really old laptop that'll actually be like revived because we're not running like a heavy operating system like Mac OS or Windows. But we do Windows. We do pretty much all the peripherals. We do printers, we do scanners, we do fax machines, actually multifunction devices where we have all of them in one device, or even standalone network scanners. We've got a law firm that scans so much that they have like several network scanners that they can walk over and it scans right onto one of their file servers, which we also do file servers. We do network attached storages. Like I said, you name it. Plugs in the wall, consumes electricity, gets an IP address, we do it. So
cool. So, for example, if somebody's moving and they're moving into their new home, you can have them all set up with their computer equipment, but also set up the TVs and all that.
Yeah. In fact, you can see behind me, I've got my Chromecast going on my TV. I'll just like let it go, and it has like all these really cool, Google Map, Earth views, and I'll say, I'll turn off the like identification of what it is to say, where is that? I'll try figuring out where it is. But yeah, I set up home theater systems. I also, set up conference rooms. I love doing conference rooms. We can go wild to wild in conference rooms in people's offices. When people move into their houses, and especially when they move into a business space, it's a really good thing that, they have some pre-planning, because I've had people move in, get all the desks moved in and everything, and everybody starts to try working, and then they try using wireless and it doesn't work because there's too many wireless networks. And then we have to go through and disrupt their whole office all over again by wiring it up with Ethernet. And, if we just do some pre-planning, if somebody's moving into an office, I can come through or into a house, especially new construction, we can, go in and pre-plan and make sure that we've got, Ethernet cables or dry conduit run to where we need to in order to, future-proof the house or future-proof the office. And so, people moving, we can pack stuff up. We can make sure that you got the new internet connection up and running in the new place. And, I've done some moves where people have had downtime in the minutes, not in the minutes, but, in the half hour sort of, whole
Right.
business, having downtime for 38 minutes, in doing a move from one place to another. And 25 of that 38 minutes was actually the drive time between the old office and the new. So of taking some of the core, servers and equipment from one office to the other. So, I do that,
Even if they're just thinking about like our computers are really old, we need to upgrade. You'll come in and you'll help them figure out like what the best solution is for their needs are too.
Absolutely. That I like you said solution and the best solution, because I know a lot of IT people, I go back to the bilingual thing. I've got a lot of people that are colleagues of mine, and they're like, it's very biased against Macs. And then you get the Mac people that are very biased against Windows. I carry, if I was superhuman, I'd carry a Mac and a PC laptop with me when I go out to client sites, but I generally use a Mac that I can emulate Windows on it as well. And so I get the best of both worlds. So.
Great. Well, what else do we need to know, Todd? I feel like, you can do just about anything. And I love the fact that you're, in the North Redondo Beach Business Association, we bring neighbors and small businesses together. And it sounds like you work equally well with both. So you offer a great service in North Redondo Beach.
Yeah, and in addition to North Redondo Beach, the 7-8 as it's called, I do the 7-7 and I do the 6-6 and I do the 5-4. It's like I do, basically any 9-0 zip code practically, it seems. But my target area is all the way from Santa Monica to Santa Ana.
Okay.
And I've got clients all the way out in Santa Ana. I've got some clients up in Santa Monica. So I drive all the way from basically the Santa Monica Mountains to, Newport Harbor and,
Great.
everywhere in between. I've got
Okay.
a lot of people in Torrance, a lot of people in Redondo, and a couple of people over in Gardena. And, I love driving, so it's like fun to go from one client to another. So.
Good. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And then how would people do they need to make an appointment pretty far in advance with you, or what does the scheduling look like?
Well, I sort of look at IT as being kind of like being a firefighter. A lot of times we sit around the firehouse waiting for fires, and that's kind of like the thing, it's kind of like call the 911 thing. But also, a lot of fire prevention. So, I try to make sure that my clients don't have fires, but when they have fires, I can respond pretty quickly. And one of my other policies of trying to be very very, customer centric is I let people know. I says, I'll maybe have an appointment for a non-critical thing at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. And I always give them a footnote. But if I have an emergency with one of my other clients, we're going to need to reschedule because I want to make sure that we take care of emergencies. I had one company whose point of sale went down and they couldn't process any transactions at their store. And, so I needed to get in there pretty quick because they needed to be able to sell products in order to pay me, so it's like, I jump on stuff like that. I try to keep a little bit of time available for emergencies. But yeah, kind of like a firefighter, both fire prevention and fire suppression, the whole thing, jump and run and get out there.
Good.
And,
Okay.
but as far as actually, way to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, which is, www.tincansNstring.com. And, I got the phone number there. I've got my office number, which
I'll post all that information in Instagram, and then we'll post it on Facebook and YouTube also.
That sounds great. So there, and then just Todd@tincansNstring.com for email. And,
Okay.
put you, I'll book you in my calendar and let you know that, it may be a situation that, I try to be pretty tight with my schedule, but sometimes, you just got to be, understanding, if I got somebody else that's, that triage thing of prioritizing, sometimes you might get bumped a little bit. So,
well, I got to tell you, I know at the NRBBA, we really, really appreciate all of your help. You have been really tremendous. And I know firsthand that you are very customer service centric, and I really appreciate it. And I know your clients do too. Thank you so much for your time today, Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Mickey, for your time, and thanks for interviewing me. This was a lot of fun. I was super nervous about this, but you know what? You make it really, really fun and easy and relaxed and chill.
Good. Okay, we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye, Mickey. Bye,
Bye.
guys.